Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, Crystal Rogers has not been seen since 2015. Today, the search continues for her, this time by federal agents at a property owned by the family of her reported boyfriend. A suspected serial killer in California is now behind bars. Who he is and what police say he has done, coming up.
Plus, it's going to feel downright wintry as we head through this week, at least at night. The latest on those below freezing lows coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good afternoon to you. I'm Dakota Makris. Thanks for joining us. Crystal Rogers disappeared on July 4th weekend in 2015. 7 years and several searches later, her family is still searching for answers. Investigators say her boyfriend, Brooks Houck, was the last person to see her alive. The FBI went back out to the farm owned by his family. The FBI has been involved in the case since 2020, and they've been to this farm before. It's a place where Rogers was last believed to be alive, and a place her mother, Sherry Ballard, is still not satisfied with.
It's such a huge farm that, it takes so long to go through something like that. And just, I guess as a mom, in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, gosh, could she still be there?
Well, the farm spans around 250 acres, and so Ballard says she won't be happy with it until the moment her daughter is found. A former Kentucky Justice Cabinet Secretary is facing a rape charge. A grand jury indicted John Tilley. An arrest citation states that on April 5th of this year, Tilley had sex with a woman without her consent at a hotel in downtown Lexington. Documents reveal the woman was reportedly too intoxicated to give consent. Tilley's arraignment hearing is scheduled for October 28th. And the mayor of Stockton, California says residents no longer have to look over their shoulder in fear. Over the weekend, police arrested a man they believe killed 5 men in the city over the course of 3 months. Nichelle Medina reports.
Stockton police say the man in this surveillance video is 43-year-old Wesley Brownlee, now behind bars. He was arrested over the weekend wearing black with a mask around his neck, carrying a gun.
Our surveillance team followed this person while he was driving. We watched his patterns and determined he was on a mission to kill.
Police say Brownlee ambushed and killed 5 men in Stockton between early July and late September. All but one were Hispanic and some were homeless. The first victim was 35-year-old Paul Yaw. His mother spoke to CBS News about her son's death earlier this month.
I don't know if we'll ever have closure because I'll never get to see my son again.
Police say they were able to track down Brownlee in large part thanks to hundreds of tips from residents. Renee Myers started this Facebook group to help police.
Our administrative team on this group has worked so hard with the community to try to uncover every stone and try to identify who this person was who's been terrorizing our community.
Stockton locals are also grateful for the work of law enforcement.
This capture just shows the diligence of our police force and the commitment that they have to the community.
The suspect is currently being held in county jail without bail and is expected to be arraigned Tuesday on murder charges. Nichelle Medina, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Investigators also believe the suspect is responsible for killing a man last year in Oakland, California, and wounding a homeless woman in Stockton.
Well, some cold air on the way as we head into the rest of tonight. Already seeing some chilly weather move in, especially now that the sun is beginning to set. A look outside right now from the Mountain Parkway at Slade. 56 our current temperature there along the Mountain Parkway, and we will continue to see the potential for even colder weather as we run through tonight. Buffalo Mountain, just a few fair weather clouds, 57 the current reading there, and we'll continue to see cooler air work in through the night. Freeze warning in effect for everybody. As we head through tonight, you see those clouds moving out. That means we'll start to cool down quick heading into the overnight. So planning things out next half hour in the low 50s. We're back in the 40s by 10 o'clock. And into the mid-30s overnight, and we're on our way into the 20s in many spots. Details on when we could see a return to some very cold air coming up in a few minutes. Dakota?
All right, Evan, thank you. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and advocates say the abuse people face isn't just physical. Sometimes the mental and emotional abuse is just as bad, if not worse. Our Phil Pendleton has more on what the governor and people had to say about the problem from the Capitol today.
Among the many pushing more awareness of domestic violence is Darlene Thomas, who says she witnessed a horrific act when she was just 12 or 13.
And he drug her down the middle. It was a muddy field, and he drug her through this muddy field. And I didn't do anything.
But neither did the dozens of others there, mostly adults. Now, years later, she's part of an organization providing shelter and help to abuse victims, Greenhouse 17. She believes there's much more awareness and action from that abuse.
We've come a long way in this society of being able to recognize and understand and support survivors. We still have a ways to go, but we are getting there.
Part of acknowledging how this type of violence works is that it is not all physical. It's the emotional damage that abusers can cause. It's the financial control that can be levied upon.
Those who work with survivors say that it's not just the bruises or battering that leave marks or signs. What cannot be seen sometimes is just as bad, if not worse, than a hit or a slap.
Another survivor said he kept all the money. That's part of how he controlled me. I was a waitress at a local restaurant, and when I came home every evening, I had to give him all my tips.
Domestic violence presents itself with a lot of challenges. A person could find physical freedom, they could get away, but would they have that financial freedom, as abusers often will have a way of controlling all the money coming into a relationship. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Well, Governor Beshear said that 45% of women and 33% of men have reported some form of domestic or sexual abuse from a partner during a relationship. Well, the Supreme Court declined to take up a case on whether those born in American Samoa are entitled to birthright citizenship under the Constitution's 14th Amendment. Today's decision is a disappointment to many who have wanted the justices to take the case and overturn a series of opinions from a century ago. However, the government of American Samoa and the American Samoa's non-voting delegate in the U.S. House believe the Supreme Court should not take up the case. They say establishing birthright citizenship by court order could have an unintended and potentially harmful impact upon American Samoa society. And the race to control Congress is coming down to the wire, and voters in many parts of the control are already casting their ballots. Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill with a look at a couple of the tightest races with just more than 3 weeks left until Election Day.
Voters in Georgia are starting to head to the polls as early voting has begun in the battleground state.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Incumbent Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock cast his ballot today. His race against Republican challenger Herschel Walker is one of the tight races that could determine the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. The former football player went on the offensive in a debate against Senator Warnock Friday.
He's for Joe Biden, I'm for Georgia.
Walker did not accept an invitation to a second debate Sunday.
My opponent, Herschel Walker, is not here. And I think that half of being a senator is showing up.
In another key battleground state of Ohio, Democratic Congressman Tim Ryan and Republican venture capitalist J.D. Vance are the candidates in an open Senate race there. They'll face off in a debate tonight. Early voting in the Buckeye State began last week. New CBS News polling shows that Democratic momentum has stalled for now as many voters' view of the economy has worsened. 65% of registered voters surveyed said they feel the economy is getting worse, compared to 15% who think it's getting better.
The prices at the grocery store are going up. Prices to eat out are going up. We're going to have to stop eating out.
While abortion remains a top issue for Democrats,
I need to be able to protect my rights as a woman.
CBS polling found the percentage who say abortion is very important is slightly lower now than last month. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
CBS News polling says control of the Senate is still a toss-up. However, Republicans are estimated to take control of the House with 224 seats. Well, coming up here on Mountain News at 5:30, it's a day filled with fright, but Halloween doesn't have to scare your savings. Tips on savings strategies as we approach Fright Night.
But first, below freezing temperatures look to be in the cards for tonight and several nights to come. The full breakdown on the way.